It's Christmas, baby. It's go time. It's full throttle. Yeah, let's just go. Let's just press play and let's do this.
Welcome to episode 412 of Alberta Dugout Stories, the podcast. I'm Joe McFarland, and this is the 2026 WCBL Division Series Preview Show. The field of 12 teams is now down to 8, and in just a few days, we'll be down to 4. And then 2 will be looking to claim the Harry Hallis Trophy as WCBL champions. Over the next couple of weeks, Ian and I will look ahead to each postseason round. Then we'll bring you full coverage of the championship series, which is set for August 15th to 17th. But it all starts here with the division series. In the East, the number 1 Moose Jaw Miller Express will battle the number 4 Medicine Hat Mavericks, while the number 2 Saskatoon Berries face the number 3 and defending champion Regina Red Sox. In the West, the number 1 Okotoks Dawgs take on the number 4 Energy City Cactus Rats, while the number 2 Sylvan Gulls and number 3 Lethbridge Bulls lock horns for the second straight year. Ian, welcome to the show and happy postseason, my friend.
It's Christmas, baby. It's go time. It's full throttle. It's use whatever expression you like. I don't know what the kids say these days, but yeah, let's just go. Let's just press play and let's do this. It's going to be like 10, 11 days of mayhem, and I'm here for it.
Absolutely. And let's start in the East here. Moose Jaw, Medicine Hat. And this is such an intriguing matchup to me, only because here's Medicine Hat who has to kind of crawl into the playoffs. I'll use that as the expression here, but they didn't enter the postseason on a great winning streak or anything like that. And then you have Moose Jaw, who has certainly been kind of just rolling through the regular season. They've been the top dogs in the East basically the entire way through. Is this one a prime example of, hey, Moose Jaw, this is yours for the taking? Or do you think Medicine Hat has the possibility of maybe playing the little underdog that could here?
I've described Medicine Hat as do they have that Regina Red Sox gene of last year that the Red Sox had, that just kind of I don't know what's going on here. Something's off, but maybe you can pull it together for the playoffs. They may have that. I think they have the bats to do it. You've had a career year from Carter Roth, who in any year where Jake Hiramoto didn't exist would probably be an MVP candidate. Carter Roth has been great this year. He set a record for doubles. He almost took over as the hits leader at the end. They'll kind of go as he goes. He's got a pretty good glove too, playing third base and second base. And then you've got a veteran guy like Johnny Volcano, who he's just kind of been through it all with Medicine Hat. He's set all kinds of career records. Their offense isn't the problem. It's not the question. I have no questions really about Medicine Hat's offense. It's the pitching side where I'm can you guys, can we win a high scoring game here? Because it might need to be that. Moose Jaw, on the other hand, there's no reason to really doubt any of their team, any of their play. How many records, Thomas Soto sets a stolen base record, a runs record, beating his own runs record from last year. They still had William Edwards, who tied the RBI record that was broken this year, last year. They've got the dogs, they've got the horses. So I should use a different phrase because we do have a dog.
The trains.
But yeah, they are a runaway train. They are absolutely a wagon, a train. The Miller Express have done nothing that should give you pause about their playoff performance. Michael Gonzalez has stepped in and just been great where Eric Marriott left off. This is a team that was in, the 2 of the last 4. I'm trying to get my years right here, but they've been to the final recently. They do have some of those players from the last championship run still on the roster. Weston Walls, what can you say? He's just a workhorse. He's going to want the ball. He may want to pitch every inning of the series. Like, he's just wired that way. And that's like, but the only, I guess, my only, fly in the ointment with the Millers is they are a team that definitely leans into their best players. They just kind of ride those horses, ride that train, and will it get to be too much? Is there enough depth in the pitching rotation behind Weston Walls and Jacob Glazner? Will Nathan Pizio, he's still a young guy and he's been great, probably the top reliever in the league this year. Is there someone else who can spell him if he's not available for a night? That's my only thing with them is a depth piece, and maybe they have it, and I haven't seen it yet. But if I'm placing money on it, and I'm not, I think the Millers win that series. It just Medicine Hat, if they're gonna win, they kind of have to do to the Millers what the Red Sox did to them last year when the Red Sox came in as underdogs, kind of punch them in the mouth, be like, what's going on here? May have to get a little bit lucky, but may have to just win an ugly 14-12 game. And Medicine Hat can do that. Can they do it? Do they have two of those wins in them? We will see.
Absolutely. And I was going to echo basically the exact same sentiments. Is there enough gas in that tank for the Weston Wallses and Jacob Glazners and Sean Bavises of that group, as they were in the top 10 in innings pitched during the course of this season? Do they have more? And that's going to be the question that we're going to find out starting on Friday. Let's move to the other division rivalry heading into the postseason here in the WCBL, and that is an interesting battle between the Saskatoon Berries and Regina Red Sox, two teams that saw each other a couple of times down the stretch, actually 3 games, and Regina surprisingly took 2. Now, this all happened after the coaching change in Regina. They were a 500-ish team during that stretch. And on the flip side, Saskatoon maybe has some skeletons in the closet that they'd like to beat over the head with a baseball bat, because it was the Red Sox who beat them in the second round of the postseason in 2025. So they certainly would like to get that monkey off the back and get their first berth in a championship series. But they got to go through Regina first. How do you see this series playing out, Ian?
I don't think I think Regina's bats they still have a lot of the same guys left from last year. I'm not sure they have the pitching that they need to get past Saskatoon. I do think with this Berries team is not as good as last year. Mm-hmm. That team set a record for wins. That team had MVP Ethan Menard. That team had Carter Beck, first-round draft pick. So this team is not as good. But I still think the Berries have a load of depth, and they definitely have a chip on their shoulder about last year. They didn't expect to lose to Regina last year. Mm-hmm. They probably shouldn't have lost to Regina last year. And, I think, can the Red Sox catch lightning in a bottle 2 years in a row? That's a big ask. I'm not sure it's there. You mentioned it. They've gone through a coaching change this year. I just, again, I would lean in towards the Berries on this. I still think, even though they are not as necessarily as good as last year in terms of their top end performers, they've got depth to spare. Ethan Murdoch, he's hungry. He wants to win. He might be the best Canadian in the league. I think, then you got Gail Salinas, who is the batting champ. It's not like Nathan Houston's been good. They've got the bats. They've got the pitching depth. They've lost guys like Michael Saul, talking about the Berries here, and Tanner Hosick, who's big. But it's kind of like passing the baton for them. Next guy up. And I just think they have the depth to withstand anything that Regina can throw at them. But we'll see. I'm curious to know what you think.
Yeah, I was going to say one thing with the Berries and going back to that depth piece is whether it's a local kid like Aiden Marion who's been doing fantastic when he's been called upon, or maybe some of those pieces you weren't expecting. A Josh Henson comes to mind as a guy who's really stepped up in the last few weeks, and it's felt like, okay,
Yeah, he came out of nowhere.
yeah, and like
Eh?
Ethan Murdoch, pardon me, is a guy who I thought maybe tailed off a little bit at the end of the season. I saw a couple of offers, and I'm sure he can use that as motivation to go, okay, I'm going to go off during the postseason, but we know what he's capable of. Now, the question in my mind goes to, does Regina have someone in their stable of pitchers who can do what happened last year when they had a couple of guys who just kind of ran roughshod over the entire league because they were willing to pitch until their arms fell off, and of course I'm
What's
talking
Aiden
about
Page up to these days?
I was just about to say Aiden Page comes to mind as a name who, and Xander Iwadi Sanger was another guy who came up, and I know
Yeah.
he's on the roster. I don't know if he's able to play or what his status is, but they need a couple of dudes who are going to be able to throw some innings and become the unsung heroes, the unexpected heroes for the Regina Red Sox. And if they can get that, then maybe this is a more interesting series than we're giving it credit for. But as it stands right now, the Regina Red Sox has been a very inconsistent team this year. Can they be consistent at the right time? And is it going to be too late because all of a sudden they're facing a Saskatoon Berries team that has been very good throughout the course of the year? So we're going to find out the answers to those questions starting on Friday.
And sorry to cut in on you, but they do still have playoff MVP Brady Bye, who had a career year. He set the record for home runs. I think he finished with the franchise record for home runs for the Red Sox with 13, I believe. And then his 67 RBIs, that's a team record. I think what people may not realize is that would have been a league record if it was last year, right? The record was 66 RBI. He gets 67 this year, and then Jay Kiramoto just says, "Yeah, that's cute.
That's nice.
That's 77 RBI for you right here." So that's like that just kind of speaks to the kind of year that he had, and he'll need to be full value in this postseason to push them past the Berries.
And if there is one team that can do it, it's going to be the team that's lived through it once before, right? You mentioned Brady Bye, but you have Ian Montz. You do have Jalen Myers. You have Justin Seward. You've got a few guys who are back from last year who can say, hey, we can do that too. It's just a matter of can you put all the pieces together. So we'll find out starting on Friday. Now, let's head on over to the West, and it is the Okotoks Dawgs. It is the Energy City Cactus Rats. These two teams have faced each other a grand total of 3 times already just in the past week. They are not strangers to one another. In fact, Energy City did pick up a win last Saturday night against Okotoks in Okotoks, thanks to a great performance from Saul Mata. One thing I noticed, I did go to the game on Saturday night when Energy City did win, and I couldn't help but notice, Ian, that the bench was a little shorter on one side than it was on the other side. Energy City is going to have to play to all of its strengths within themselves and play to the underdog mentality a lot in this series. I look at Okotoks and go, they're pretty close to a wagon right now. They might have a couple of spots where they'd like to see some more performances, especially on the pitching side, but offensively, they are the Okotoks Dawgs. What do you see in this series that makes you go, hey, these might be determining factors in how this plays out?
Well, on paper, it's not a lot different than Okotoks versus Brooks last year. It's a complete mismatch. You're right about the Cactus Rats kind of riding that bulletin board material and blocking out the noise and like just chip on the shoulder. I think they've Coach Blundell has done a good job of just kind of harnessing that. And like you've seen David Simmons, he was the home run derby champ. He's had a good year. They've got some dudes on that team that can produce, both pitchers and hitters. It's just how many of them are left, and is it enough? Like, can you put enough of that together to just have the best 2 games of your life? And possibly, like, I think that's totally possible. But, to as I was saying with the Berries, it's kind of a pass the baton thing with the Dogs, where you've got so many more players at your disposal. I just think, you know, hitting wise, I don't want to face that Dogs lineup.
Yeah.
Like that's you get Connor Croce and Nash Crowell, Ricky Sanchez, you've got Keepan who's come in and been great. Cal Gates is like, that guy's a treat to watch, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he just gets on base, he steals bases. If not for Thomas Soto, like, we'd be talking about him as like the stolen base artist of this league. I just think that lineup's really good. Eric Matchey came back recently. He was part of that 2024 winning team. Jacob Wroblewski and Jaden Lusk behind the plate. Like, the Dogs are dogs. Like, their bats. I don't worry at all about their bats. Actually, I don't really worry about their pitching either. Brody Porno this year has reached kind of a new level for them. I think he went 6-0, if I'm not mistaken. Like, he has really been full value for them, which is great for him. This is his final season, so he's ready to go. And then the Dogs always build out a good bullpen. Joe Sargent, pitching coach there, has always managed that pitching staff very well. So, yeah, again, I think it's a mismatch on paper. Can the Cactus Rats surprise? Yep, but I'd be, they've got to do it before I believe it.
David versus Goliath in the truest sense of the word. And you added a couple of names in there that I'm like, how motivated is this team to allow these four guys to go out on top? Because I know that's been a big deal. Every time you talk about the teams of the Dogs who've gone on to win championships, they're always talking about some of the longtime dudes. There's four of them on that team that I can count where I'm like, they would really like to do it. Connor Croson, Nash Kroll, Ricky Sanchez, and Brody Forno. You mentioned all four guys. Those are like lifers. Yep. Those are guys who've been around since they were like 12. They've been they were selling 50-50s up on the concourse for a real long time, and they get to do it all at home because, of course, Energy City Metro Ballpark isn't ready, isn't done, and has been deemed unplayable. So you're going to see games 1, 2, and if necessary 3 all in Okotoks. Tell me that's not a hometown advantage for the Dogs. They're going to lean into it hard. It's going to be very difficult for Jordan Blundell and company to do it. Is it undoable? Is it not? Is it impossible? No, but it's going to be a very, very tall task for that squad, especially if they are as shorthanded as they appeared over the course of the last few days, which again, I go back to not just from a depth perspective, but as much as we're like, oh, okay, Okotoks took 2 out of 3 during those 3 or 5 nights that they played against each other. You didn't see the full roster, the playoff version roster of the Okotoks Dawgs. They typically had 3 or 4 guys who were maybe their bench players starting, as an example. So what are we going to get when you see full tilt Okotoks Dawgs? I guess we're going to find out on Friday night. One final matchup.
I think too, I'm not sure the venue matters either, Joe.
No.
Sorry again, to cut you off there, because the very first game that was played at Energy City Metro Ballpark was the Dogs visiting, and they won that game. So, you could put them wherever. They're a wagon.
Very true. Very true. One final matchup that we're going to take a look at here on the show. It is the Sylvan Lake Gulls. It is the Lethbridge Bulls. It is a repeat of 2025, in which the Sylvan Lake Gulls did sweep in 2 straight, thanks in large part to a fantastic performance in Game 1 from one Josh Tucker. One Josh Tucker is no longer part of the Sylvan Lake Gulls program as he graduated, of course. The question mark becomes, who becomes the next Josh Tucker? And Ian, in your thoughts, are the Sylvan Lake Gulls a better team than they were even a season ago?
Well, that's a good question. You threw a curveball at me there.
Yes,
I don't know. You know what? They might be. They might be. I think, who's the next Josh Tucker? I want to get to that one because I think that's like or Ty Boudreau, like some names from the past in that organization. I actually think it's just there's more pitchers doing that job.
Yep.
So you're not going to have one. I actually don't think they have one horse doing that. Just was looking at their pitching, and it's like, man, like they just have so many names for everybody, Bourgeois and Matthew McKenzie and Frolic was a late signing there. And I'm missing probably their guys who have 5 wins each. Like they have 10 guys who have at least a win from the regular season, and I think they have 4 or 5 guys who have at least a save. And Braden Stewart has been their closer. He's been one of the best closers in the game, in the league rather. And and then they've got Braxton Bussing coming from their Gulls prep team, who hasn't pitched a lot, but he could surprise in the playoffs. I just think as a pitching staff, that is probably the best pitching staff. It is the best pitching staff in my mind in the league. So I don't necessarily think they need Tucker or Boudreau this postseason. I think they need to roll out one of their guys for 3 innings and see what he does, then bring in the next guy for 3 innings, and on and on. Like, it is truly a pass the baton pitching rotation and bullpen for them. And it might be collectively the best pitching staff they've had. I'm pretty sure it was the pitching staff that allowed the fewest runs this season. Yep. So it's funny because talking about a lot of these teams, and we're saying like with Medicine Hat or Okotoks or Moose Jaw, it's like, I don't worry about their hitting, and that's like generally true. Like, this has been a heavy hitting season in this league. So really, if you have pitching that can get the job done, there's that old adage about pitching winning championships. This could be the pitching staff that wins a championship. And obviously they're motivated, they're hungry. They were so painfully close. I know this off season they got sick of answering and responding to like being one strike away. They were, and Mickey McClaskey was an amazing reliever. Like it, at Jaden Flores, if he corrals that ball, quicker, is it an out? All these things, right? Like that kind of worked against them in that second game of the championship. Maybe they learned from it, and and I'm going on and on about their pitching, but their bats are no slouch either, right? Like, they've got Maddox Shaver, you've got Johnny Rittenhouse has come out of nowhere and been phenomenal. Elijah Hamill is just, he was kind of a mid-season addition, and he's been great. Charlie Collins hit for the cycle, and he had great, throw to the plate against Okotoks to win that game. I think I credit to GM, not head coach now, Chatwood, on assembling a roster and making in-season additions that I think have been very astute and very strong, right? Like, they brought in Cooper Suzelski this year, former MVP in this league. He left midway through the season. They brought in Gavin Roy, who was the steals leader from 2 years ago in the WCBL. And then he signs pro right away, which was good. They helped him kind of achieve that. So I think they are probably, when I look at that roster, well, it's probably between them and Okotoks, surprise, surprise, on the most well-rounded roster. But I think those two teams are on a collision course. I haven't even mentioned Lethbridge yet.
Well, I was just about to say, there's a team knocking on the door here, Ian, who's saying, don't forget about us. They are entering the postseason on a winning streak. Now, I think they started off so hot, and then they hit injury problems, and Carter Clarehout goes pro, and then it became sort of we'll win 3 here, we'll lose 3 there. We'll win 2 here, we'll lose 1 there. It was very much a touch and go kind of season for the Lethbridge Bulls. They still have a ton of talent on that team. I don't think we can actually write them off. They might be the underdog in this case, and judging by the standings, they are the number 3 team. But this is a team that is motivated to finally get that monkey off their back and say, hey, we deserve to be in the conversation too, heading into round 2.
I appreciate your pep talk there. I'm going to speak bluntly. I just don't see it. I do think Carter Clarehout leaving was a big deal. Like, that's a huge hole in the middle of your lineup. Great player, great kid, like, great attitude. And then everything kind of fell to Caleb Haney, and he's been full value. Like, he's been great. He's played all over the field. He's shifted to the outfield because they just needed him to play there. You got the Wheatley brothers who've been good. Cardell Dick has been good as well. I just feel like they're kind of running out of gas. They're running on fumes. And I just don't think they have the depth or even really enough star talent to really compete against the Gulls in this series. And it's too bad. They've had a good season. I think the Bulls they came out of the gate pretty strong. They've been good. I just don't see them matching up very well against this Gulls team that is hitting its stride, I think, at the right time. Again, anything can happen in 2 games. Like, right, you just need to put together 2 games, and that can happen. We've seen it happen last year and over again. But the Sylvan looks really strong to me.
Mm-hmm. And just for the tail of the tape, to a certain extent, Sylvan Lake 10-3 in their last 13 games of the season. Really, they came home from a 2-game set in Fort Mac where they lost one, or they split that series, and then they lost to Energy City in Energy City, and it seemed as though there was almost like a pep talk, almost like what we saw last year with Sylvan Lake, where they had to have that like kumbaya moment, and then they just kind of went off. And on the flip side of that, in the season series, those last 2 games, Lethbridge gave up double-digit runs against the Gulls. So if the Bulls want any chance at winning this series, it's going to start, surprise, surprise, with your pitching. You need to give up as few runs as possible, and hopefully your bats can come alive with the aforementioned Haney, with the aforementioned Dick, with the aforementioned Wheatley brothers. Something's got to give there if you're going to give yourself a shot at getting into round number 2. So we're going to find out if Lethbridge has the Bulls to make it happen, or if the Gulls are bound for another run-in with the Okotoks Dawgs, or do the Energy City Cactus Rats have a trick up their sleeve? We're going to find out about that. We're going to find out about the East and so much more. One final parting shot from you, Ian. What's your hot take? I'm not going to tell you to come up with your prediction on who wins every series. You've kind of alluded to who you think is going to win, but do you have a bold prediction, a bold take for round 1 as we head into the next 4 days?
Oh yeah, you're gonna get me in trouble, but I'll walk right into the screen on that one. I think all the top seeds advance from the first round, and I'm not trying to throw any shade at the lower seeds. I just kind of that's the feel I get for this year. I'll be happy to be proven wrong. I'll be happy to be chewed out by a lower seeded team when they score an upset. But my feeling is it's going to be kind of the opposite of the Regina Red Sox run from last year, and we're going to get the top seeds advance, and it should make for some great baseball in the second round, in my opinion.
Absolutely, and again, who becomes the hero? Like we mentioned Aiden Page of last year. We've mentioned some names from the last couple of years. Who steps up? That's going to be the big question mark heading into the first round of the postseason, and we get to see it here all live Friday, Saturday, and potentially Sunday. Now, I did put you on the spot, so I will go out on a limb here and differ with you on one point. I don't think that all 4 of the top seeds are getting through to the second round. That's a shocking twist. I'm going to say that there's going to be one upset. Just one. I have no idea who it's going to be, but I'm just going to say one will. We'll leave it at that. Ian, looking forward to the ball, and we'll check back in with you for round 2 in just a few days' time.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks again to Ian Wilson for joining us on this special edition of the show, and thanks to all of you for downloading and listening. Make sure to hit subscribe, as we'll have a new episode heading into the Division Championship Series and, of course, the WCBL Championship Series. Both will drop next week, and then we'll have full coverage after the Harry Hallis Trophy is handed out in just a couple of weeks' time. A tip of the cap, as always, to our Platinum supporters, the Okotoks Dawgs, for their generosity in helping us tell the game stories in our province. For more on our tremendous teammates or to join our roster, head to albertadugoutstories.com/supporters. Until next time, thank you for all of your support, online, on social, and on air. of Alberta Dugout Stories.